3D sound is about recreating the perception of acoustics just as if you're in the room with the performer. There is a way for a sound system to reproduce 3D sound.
Acoustic3D, the company as well as its products, is at a crucial point of development at this stage. I'm just wondering if you can give me a rundown with a short timeline as to where you've come from, where you're the state of affairs right now, and the company's path going forward.
Okay, we come from a really solid research side, 21 years. The benefit of that is we purposely went out and made all the mistakes possible that could be made. We think we made them all. So we now know what to do. Because to get this 3D sound, there's a bunch of things you have to do. It's far more complex than designing a normal two-dimensional loudspeaker. So we know all the things to get right and how to deliver the sound. So that's good. So what we've done with the Emergence 2.1 is we put all that together. We're going to go to it with an expensive product. The market says we're broke, the global financial crisis has wiped us out. What can you do for $500 or $1,000 or something like that? So okay, no problems. We knew we can do something there because we essentially, the methodology, there's something called Heisenberg's theorem. It says that you're better off, you can know exactly where you are or you can know exactly how fast you're going, but you can't know both. And if you like, our technology is more about letting you know what's happening three-dimensionally. And that completely alleviates the need to have ultra-precise equipment and electronics and all sorts of stuff. So that's the normal way of a really high-end audiophile speaker would go into ultra-precision machining and exact all this stuff. We don't have to do that, we just have to get this little squiggle right. It means we can knock stuff out in plastic. We've also got some, so we've got all this research, we've got some nodular happening inside this, which is a way of de-resonating the plastic as well. So it's all come together, it's all worked beautifully. Where are we now? We're in a position to take orders. It's a fantastic position. So we've made the decision that, okay, an order might be deliverable in 90 days, probably in 120 days we can have this product on the market. So we've made that commitment. We've got a couple of people we've talked to about who's going to give us that order. So that's good. That's all in the low-end stuff, the fast-moving consumer goods stuff. On the high-end stuff, we're about to machine the flat panel array speakers, where we take this effect. These little speakers have the effect from 2000 Hertz and above. It does give you a tremendous sound. Okay, let's take that down to 500 Hertz, take it down to 300 Hertz, take it down to 200 Hertz. And my training in psychoacoustics, I pretty well know what I'm going to get. And it's just going to go through the roof as it has already with these little speakers into what it can deliver as far as sound. And again, it's the way it works. It works like the brain naturally works.
Now, Acoustic3D's first product is certainly uniquely styled, but also features some proprietary technology. You've mentioned some of it, you touched on some of it just now, but are you able to expand on these unique sort of elements that are inbuilt?
The Acoustic3D passive reflector, excuse me, I'll grab a speaker, has this fractal that is a time-based fractal. When sound comes out of here, some of it comes off the front early, some of it comes off the back late. And what it's actually doing is contextualizing the sound you're hearing into a time-based, spatially arranged fractal. That's what gives you the Acoustic3D effect. That's what gives you the 3D. So that's a basic algorithm and methodology, and can be done a number of ways. We'll soon have the parts where you can do a floor-standing speaker. We've got an Acoustic3D tweeter that, instead of using a reflected device, we're actually going to have an array of little half-inch tweeters, which I've got in my possession now, compact them together, do it all electronically, put the algorithm, time delay algorithms, into the DSP, and then you've got a very conventional speaker. You're putting a tweeter on a box, using some nice woofers, and put the electronics in the bottom. What we find, the Acoustic3D gives you so much information that you've got to use a good quality woofer, because you can get more information than a bad woofer can mask. So if you use a bad woofer, you'll actually, block out a lot of the detail that's coming through. So that's a simple recipe. Some nice woofers, Acoustic3D tweeter, and the algorithm electronically. That will suit a lot of people because that's a low barrier to entry, normal loudspeaker type solution. In the enclosure here, we use something called nodulo. Nodulo is where my journey into all of this goes way back to a company called Passac. I did a Helmholtz resonator simulator for acoustic guitar amplification. It was distributed by Martin Guitars in the States. It went pretty well. Then I met this electric violin maker called Tucker Barrett. I did the electronics for him. He wanted to amplify it, but he wanted to give an acoustic body back, so I knew enough about musical instrument body acoustics that I put a bunch of resonances in at prime numbers, odd primes, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and put the ratio between these resonances like that, you actually bang, it sound like a natural acoustic violin. And that taught me, when you think about it, like I've got a harmonic fundamental note with its even harmonics, or odd harmonics, and if you look at that prime resonances, hey, only one of those low order harmonics is going to hit a resonance, the rest aren't. But the damn thing is, they all sound the same. And I know fully well that within what's considered bass, and Edmund's Wicker would consider look below 400 Hz. Good psychoacousticians know that you don't even hear pitch below 400 Hz. So in this design, below 400 Hz is where the central signal is coming out. That basically, as long as one of your lower bass frequencies is resonating, it'll sound identical. And that says to me, well, wait a minute, the way we're thinking about sound has got nothing to do with the way it actually works, according to the architecturals, the auditory designers and their psychoacousticians. The electronics, audio guys think sound comes out, speaker goes to your ear, goes dissipates in here, and that's it. So this is the start of the journey. Then I'm learning, okay, there's some hierarchical stuff going on, analysing the sound. Then you learn a backward masking, where you turn a high frequency on after a low frequency. It'll take on the timing of the lower frequency, and that's introduced me to what's called backward masking. The illusion that you're saying you swear that something happened then, but in fact you've listened to the whole event, and you go, okay, there's an illusion. We say, okay, I'm going to go back in time and construct what I've just heard. Or it's the concept of now. I mean, technically, visually, you take in 1/10 of a second before you can work out what's going on. So there's no such thing as being in the now. The now that we construct is in fact after the event. This is where most people get lost, but basically, so what we do for Acoustic3D is make sure that the narrative coming to you in a spatial room is the same as the natural narrative. And what you'll find is you'll go, well, okay, I'm really happy with this. I'm hearing 3D. It sounds really natural. You must admit there's a natural quality to the sounds of our speakers. And that's because I can contextualise it in a narrative over 1/10 of a second. And by the way, now, well, that's somewhere in the middle. I know what now is, but if now is actually a little bit after the instantaneous now, this explains why we've got a slow reaction time in cars and why we speak slowly. You know, a lot of people don't think about, when I'm speaking to you, I'm not doing more than 20 things. I can't give you more than 20 syllables a second. There's a famous thing that says if you analyse an athlete at 200 times a second, you've got them covered. Every possible human instigated thing they can do, movement, twitch, reaction time, it's covered. So what I think is this hierarchical thing is analysing what's happening at 200 times a second. Now, it's not analysing 44K. 44K is just a carrier of some event. So it's analysing the events that are quite a low hierarchical system, and that means, well, okay, boy, I'm thinking about things this way now. So if I get the quadratic residue, I stick it in front of the speaker, I tune it. All quadratic residues, in my view, are incorrectly designed because they assume a planar wave heading. Well, hey, you can tune it to a spherical wave coming in. It means you can put the quadratic residue right in front of the tweaker, so all the sound coming out of the speaker is completely diffuse. And that, believe it or not, is the start of a very complex fractal system that allows you to recreate a virtual acoustics. If you look at a paper on on quadratic residue and you look at ones where they model a planar wave coming in, you'll see it just wipe out the listening room. When we point source focus it, we make them work, so we can just wipe out your listening room first up. Then we reconstruct this hologram on top of it coming out. And remember, all the sound you heard out of this speaker was just coming out of a little bit of this energy. It's just a little sprinkling of Acoustic3D up in the top end. When we give you the 200 hertz to, we can give you from 1 hertz to whatever the frequency is. Prime numbers can be as big as you want. If you've got enough money, we'll make you the whole wall of your house, the left and right speaker. And we'll go to 29 by 29. We'll go to 200 and something if there's a prime number by 200 and something, and it'll give you 200. It'll give you a narrative that's so long, it'll be so real that it's incredible, you know. But we think, you know, it's got to be economically viable, so we're just doing little samples is enough. But we're looking forward to doing our 7x7 squared panel. Will be out soon. That's where we take narrative from 200 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. And that narrative in the base is going to be this long. When you look at it in actual distance travel, we'll be giving you slices of the musical narrative, 7 slices over that distance. And you'll be able to build a whole three-dimensional world that's at least as big as all this energy around you is naturally. And at the moment we're giving you a slice of 7 that's from about here down to here.
So I was going to say, at what point or what size does it actually mimic the reality that you're talking about as close as possible? So,
well, there's a number of ways of looking at it. You know, I think the pinna of the ear, these bits of the ear are wavelet encoders, are diffusion encoders. That's precisely why they're there. They encode the signal going into your brain, help you convolve it, help you do three-dimensional imaging. So if you say, well, okay, let's stick to the size of these and use Acoustic3D, that would suggest there's a certain size. The number 7 doesn't really, there's no economy to going above 7 really if you're limited to a certain amount of real estate.